Here we go. Just prior to your signing and sending to Mr. King this letter dated April 7, 1991, did you show it to Mr. Carter?
I don't think so.
You considered your statement that you decided to assume full control of the business to be a major business decision on your part, did you not?
Yes.
You recall, do you not, that under the date of January 20, 1991, and I allude, Your Honor, to the memorandum agreement document number 10, sir, which I am about to show the witness in the list of documents. Does Your Honor have it?
I have it in front of me, yes.
I was about to interrogate the witness. Please be good enough to look at the document which has been marked as 10 in the list of documents in the pretrial order. After you have examined it, please tell us whether your signature appears on page 4 thereof.
I have examined it with reference to my signature. That is not my signature.
Is it a copy or a Xerox copy of your signature?
No, it has evidently been conformed. That is to say, it is indicated with an S.
Is it stipulated that Mr. Roberts did in fact sign the original?
Why don't you show him the document that is included here and does bear their signatures? Then there won't be any confusion.
Thank you very much. I am sorry, Your Honor. Mine is a Xerox, as you can observe.
What document are you about to show the witness now?
It is still number 10.
I mean, which particular copy of it?
It is Mr. Begenzon's set.
Your Honor, I believe he has defendant's copy, and I think, Your Honor, yours is just a makeshift set that was prepared afterwards. His copy is an exact copy, as is mine.
I got the tail end of the dog. Did you get the good end?
The one I have is a photocopy of some sort. Perhaps you want to show it to him. The one that is in the court's pretrial order.
That too is not my signature.
This is conformed as well, Mr. Katz. I am prepared to stipulate that document 10 is a true copy of the agreement dated January 20, 1991, signed by the parties.
We will accept that stipulation, Your Honor, and ask that the document be introduced by reference.
I think, Your Honor, this is all covered by the opening paragraph under the list of documents where we have stipulated that whether it bears the parties' signatures or has simply been conformed, the document in question was executed or signed by the parties.
Yes, I see that it is in the stipulation, Mr. Katz.
Yes.
The only objection being reserved is as to materiality and relevancy, as I recall.
Yes.
If you wish to offer this in evidence...
I do.
Do you have any objection, Mr. Begenzon?
No, I have none, Your Honor.
A portion of this agreement, Your Honor, to which we will allude in argument, is the very last paragraph beginning on page 3 and ending on page 4.
There is received in evidence as Defendant's Exhibit T the agreement dated January 20, 1991 between Mr. Roberts and Mr. King regarding certain operations of the Kelly Partnership and the Kelly Corporation.
Mr. Roberts, do you recall the telephone conversations which you had with Mr. King immediately after you sent to him the letter dated April 7, 1991, sir?
I recall having a phone conversation with him either just the day before or that date. I can't recall with particularity now on which occasion it was.
Do you recall that Mr. King asked you, what is the meaning of this letter?
No, I don't remember that phraseology or context.
Do you remember Mr. King saying to you, I think we should get together and work out a resolution to this problem, because what you are doing is going to wreck the business of the clips as well as the lock nut? In substance, do you remember his saying that?
No, I don't. A part of that I think he said, but not the entire.
What part do you remember his saying?
Well, he said that I am going to wreck the clip business by managing something I know nothing about.
Did you say to Mr. King, I don't give a damn what you think, I have made up my mind, I no longer consider you a friend?
No, I did not.
What did you say to him, if you said anything, about the fact that you had made up your mind, decided on what you were going to do?
I can't recall what I said in that context other than what is contained in the letter itself.
Incidentally, in the month of April, when you had a series of conversations in the presence of Mr. Grady, Mr. Carter, Mr. Walker, and Mr. Black, did you make any notes of those conversations at or about the time when the conversations themselves occurred, sir?
These were the conversations before April 30?
Yes, yes, sir.
That is what you are referring to? I made some notes, yes.
Do you have them?
No, I don't have them.
When did you last see them, sir?
The ones I am thinking of are notes on the pro forma, the Floyd Carter pro forma, that were in the hands of my attorney.
Were the notes which you made on what you allude to as the pro forma statement, notes dealing with mathematical computations?
Yes, I would say so.
Were they notes which purported to set forth what Mr. Grady said in substance, or what Mr. Walker assertedly said in substance?
No, they're not that detailed.
So that you actually kept no notes at any time about the conversations in which you set forth the substance of what Mr. Walker said, or Mr. Grady, or Mr. King, is that correct?
Just cryptic notes, little things that I wrote that would have a meaning to me.
Do you have the little things that you wrote that would have a meaning to you?
No, they're in the hands of Mr. Bigginson.
May I inquire of the witness to what he has reference?
Do you want to permit him to confer with his client off the record?
I am perfectly willing to do it in front of court and counsel. I want to make sure that I know to what the witness is referring.
Well, perhaps you can do it right now.
Anything is perfectly agreeable. Mr. Roberts, do you have reference to Xerox copies of the so-called Floyd Carter pro forma statements prepared sometime in April, on which you have made little notations?
Right, that is what I was thinking of.
I think I know where I can lay my hands on those copies. And is your request that we provide them tomorrow, Mr. Katz?
Yes.
Other than those, did you make any other notes that you recall now?
Not that I can recall at this time, Your Honor. I have been referring now to the period before April 30.
The periods of the various conferences or conversations about which you testified on direct examination as having occurred in April 1991 after you received Mr. King's reply to your letter of April 10, 1991?
That is right.
Yes, that is the period that I am referring to.
Now, the question is, do you recall having made any notes as to any of those conferences?
Just the one document that I am thinking of, Your Honor, the pro forma one, the pro forma document that I had scribbled some words and numbers that were meaningful to me at the time.
Very well. You may proceed, Mr. Katz.
Now, with respect to the conversations to which you testified on direct examination, as having occurred during the month of May 1991, did you make any notes of the substance of those conversations at or about the time those conversations occurred, sir?
I don't believe so. I don't recall any.
Now, I want to go back with you to that telephone conversation with Mr. King. I take it that you do recall a telephone conversation with Mr. King in which he talked with you about the letter you had sent him dated April 7, 1991. Do you remember that? Don't you?
Not about that letter. I am not sure it was about the letter. It was about the subject matter of the Lady Linda sales program. And as I said before, I talked to him either before I sent the letter or just after he received it. And I can't recall which it was.
Did you say to Mr. King at any time shortly after April 7, 1991, I have been studying this thing for a long, long time. Don't think it is an emotional, spur-of-the-moment thing. I have done it, and you can do anything you want. As far as I am concerned, you are out of the clip business.
No, I never said that.
Well, do you remember what you said to Mr. King in connection with his comment concerning your taking over the operation of the clip business? Did you say anything to him in that regard?
In regard to my taking over the clip business sales,
Yes, after April 7, 91.
I tried to explain that I may have had the conversation with him around April 6 or before sending the letter of April 9. It may have been after sending the letter. I can't remember particularly when the conversation took place. If you would allow me to tell you what occurred, in that conversation, whether it took place before or after, I can do that.
We will get to that in just a few moments, sir. Mr. Roberts, you did discuss, did you not, with both Jim Snyder and Charles Fields, the sending of the letter of April 7, 1991 to Mr. King before you actually sent it?
Yes, I did.
Who is Mr. Fields?
Mr. Fields was personal manager, was he not?
He was Director of Industrial Relations. That was his title.
And had you asked Mr. Fields to be of assistance to you and work with you sometime prior to April 7, 1991?
No, he always did report to me, and I had no occasion to do that.
Well, did he report to you sometime prior to April 7, 91, and during the months of March and February of 91?
Yes. From the date of his employment, which was some years prior, he reported to me.
Well, I asked you specifically, sir, did he report to you in the month of March of 1991?
Yes.
Did he report to you in the month of February of 91?
Yes, the word report means in terms of line of authority.
Did you talk with him in the month of January of 1991? Can you remember?
Yes, I talked to him every month from the date of his employment.
Now, in the course of your discussions with Mr. Fields sometime prior to April 7, 1991, specifically, did you have a meeting with Mr. Fields at the Turf Club?
Prior to April 7, 91?
Yes.
I don't recall any such meeting. I may have had one.
Do you not recall saying to Mr. Fields in substance at the Turf Club, I have decided to break up the business. Now, I want you to tell me how.
No, I never had any such conversation.
Did Mr. Field at any time prior to April 7, 1991 suggest to you that you not foment any trouble in connection with the clip business or anything to that effect?
No.
Excuse me, please, Mr. Katz. I don't like to break into cross-examination, but sometimes thoughts occur to the court, and if I don't clarify the matters at that time, I might forget about them.
Yes,
If counsel have no objection.
I haven't the slightest objection.
Concerning the question Mr. Katz asked you about a conversation with Mr. Fields at the Turf Club sometime before April 7, 1991, is it your testimony that you did not have such a conversation with Mr. Fields, or that you don't recall any at this time?
I just can't recall. I mean, I have been to the Turf Club with Mr. Fields. It is a restaurant in the neighborhood of the plant, but I can't remember any such conversation to which Mr. Katz has inquired.
You may proceed.
Mr. Roberts, in the month of December 1990, in a meeting at Michael's Restaurant, did you tell Ray Strom that you were going to take the business over and that you wanted Strom to work with you?
Absolutely not.
Now, I am going to move that the last answer be stricken for the purposes of interposing an objection, Your Honor.
All right, you may do so.
I will object to the question on the grounds that it is unclear and ambiguous. He says, the business. Does that mean the entire business of the partnership, or is reference made to the clip business?
I will try to be specific.
Very well.
Did you have a meeting with Mr. Strom in the month of December 1990 at Michael's Restaurant?
No, I did not.
Did you have a meeting with Mr. Strom at any time in the month of December 1990?
No.
You had learned, had you not, sometime in December 1990, that Mr. Klaus had determined it would be more economical to have the advertising of the clip products handled directly from the plant on Telegraph Road rather than through the Strom office on La Cienega?
No, I don't believe I did.
You don't believe you did?
No, I don't believe I did.
What had you learned about a change in the then setup respecting the functions of the Strom office?
I will object on the ground that then gives no point of reference in time. The question is therefore ambiguous.
Can you make it more specific, Mr. Katz?
Yes, I will. Did you learn at any time prior to your sending of the letter of April 7, 1991, that Mr. King had made any change for reasons of economy in the way by which the Strom advertising office was functioning?
I will object on the grounds the question is now compound.
This is cross-examination.
I understand that it is cross-examination, Your Honor.
Yes, it is cross-examination. Is that question clear to you, Mr. Roberts?
No, it isn't, Your Honor. It has this question of economy.
All right, will you reframe the question?
Yes, you had learned, had you not, sometime prior to April 7, 1991, of some change with respect to the operation of the advertising division through the Strom office. Is that true, Mr. Roberts?
Yes, it is.
When had you first learned that, sir?
As I recall, it was early January 1991.
And when you learned of that early in January 91, you also learned that Mr. Strom was then disturbed by Mr. King's decision, did you not?
Yes.
And when you learned that Mr. Strom was disturbed by Mr. King's decision, you went out to talk to Mr. Strom, didn't you?
Well, I did make an appointment with Mr. Strom in early January.
Yes, sir. And where did you meet Mr. Strom in early January of 1991? Will this help you, sir? Was it at the Pacific Dining Car?
No.
Where did you meet him?
My recollection is that I met him at the Four Trees Restaurant on Sunset Boulevard.
Did you, in that meeting, which you say took place at the Four Trees Restaurant, tell Mr. Strom in substance that you wanted Strom to work along with you?